has not been realized by once idealistic colleagues who in 5 short years have forgotten why the unity construct and its agenda appeal to so many of our people. Regrettably, they have failed to implement the good governance agenda that was our mantra of 2015. These good governance measures were deemed urgent and necessary to strengthen our democracy and to end the vicious cycle of recrimination, hostility, and tribalism among our people. Unfortunately, we have not seen the focus necessary to address this level of divisiveness in our society. And if anything, our society is more divided now than it has ever been.
Now, 5 years later, Mr. Condor has broken with the coalition, expressing disappointment with its good governance achievements.
I have had much time to reflect on my affiliations, past and present, and I have concluded that it is more prudent to be part of a movement, the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, that has shown contrition for its missteps and is prepared to censure itself. Honesty, humility, and selfless service have always been my watchwords, and I will never, never compromise them for anything or anyone. That is why I'm at peace with all my decisions, past and present, and more importantly, I'm at peace with my God. I ask that every citizen do a similar sober soul-searching, introspection, and retrospection. I urge all to approach the upcoming poll with an open mind and seriously scrutinize every candidate and every party. I implore you to make wise decisions for the future of the next generation and the country as a whole.
Three cruise workers who are nationals of St. Kitts and Nevis arrived in port Thursday morning and were taken into quarantine by health officials, according to reports reaching Win FM 98.9. Win understands that the Royal Caribbean cruise liner Vision of the Seas docked at Port Zante to repatriate the workers who will be quarantined for 14 days. It is unclear how many nationals of St. Kitts and Nevis may be among the thousands of cruise workers who are currently still on cruise ships at sea 2 months after the closure of the industry. The plight of cruise workers is captured in this report published by Miami Herald.
No information. No way off. 100,000 crew members remain in cruise ship limbo for months. In the avenue of ocean that stretches south from Miami to Cuba and northeast to the Bahamas, dozens of cruise ships sail back and forth. Every so often, they come into Florida ports to refuel and restock. Otherwise, they wait. The crew members on board, many no longer receiving paychecks, wait for news about when they will return home and see their families again. 2 months after the cruise industry shut down amid repeated COVID-19 outbreaks on ships, more than 100,000 crew members remain trapped at sea with little reliable information about what will happen to them. While most passengers were able to get off cruise ships by early April, crew members have largely remained stuck. During the prolonged isolation, the virus continued to spread through the ships. At least 578 crew contracted COVID-19 at sea and 7 have died, according to a Herald analysis. At least 2 crew members have leapt overboard in apparent suicides. On May 10, a 39-year-old crew member from Ukraine on the Regal Princess ship died after jumping overboard while the ship was anchored off Rotterdam, Netherlands. Late last month, a crew member jumped off Royal Caribbean's Jewel of the Seas ship while it was near Greece. His body was never found. Likely no one imagined the situation would become so dire. When cruise companies first shut down operations on March 13, they expected to cancel cruises for just 30 days, believing the crisis would quickly pass, much like the 2002 SARS pandemic that killed fewer than 800 worldwide, and they would be up and running again soon. Some crew were sent home in March, including many entertainment employees, while some new crew members were brought on. But on April 9, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention banned cruising in U.S. waters through at least late July, citing ongoing outbreaks among crew who remained on ships. The CDC put new rules in place limiting repatriation to private transportation and requiring cruise line executives to sign legal agreements assuring the agency's health rules will be followed. Some countries, including Haiti and the Philippines, are requiring crew members be tested before they can return. Others, like Grenada, want cruise companies to pay for a land-based quarantine once crew members arrive. This is a totally new situation for everybody, said Tejo Nimela, editor of Cruise Business magazine. There is no guidebook for this.
The police force is strongly warning citizens and residents against tearing down of banners or paraphernalia of political parties during the campaign season. That is the word coming from Police Superintendent Cromwell Henry on Thursday while speaking on radio program Policing with You.
It is an offence. If a report is made and we have evidence, we will prosecute.
Yes.
And so we just want to send out that warning that we do not encourage this type of behavior, and we would prosecute persons whom we have evidence against who commit this type of acts.
The announcement comes against the backdrop of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party's candidate in Constituency 2, Marcella Liburd, reportedly had her campaign posters removed and torn up by unknown individuals.
What I would say to the young men, I just want to say this to the young men. Do not allow anyone to encourage you or pay you to engage in wrongdoing. Do not allow them to do that. Because the very persons who are doing that to you, disrespecting you in that way, they would never put their family members or their close friends to do the same thing that they want you to do.
Meanwhile, Superintendent Henry urged people to work with the limited shared space for the elections.
Well, one of the features, one of the recurring problems that we always have around this time during campaigns is parties defacing each other's campaign material. You know, you put up your campaign sign, I take it down and I put up mine, or I go and spray paint it, destroy it. Mm-hmm. We really want to discourage that type of activity. I think we have come of age now. We are mature now as an independent country. We should be mature enough to respect each other's view and make our own decisions without having to be violent, without having to be physical against our opponents. Yes. And so if a party puts up a sign, you put up yours next to his.
Of course.
And let people choose which one.
Usually space is there.
Right. So if there's no space, then go somewhere else. Find a space close by. Create space. People become creative. I've seen some creative ways of people displaying their things. Be creative and put up your sign somewhere else where there's space. But do not take down somebody else's sign and put up yours, or destroy somebody else's thing just because you're on the other side. That is wrong. That is against the law.
Though? No one has been charged for the destruction of the posters. With the elections in the air, citizens and residents have been sharing their views on the need for debates, issues affecting the country, and overseas voting. They articulated their points on Win FM's Voices program.
Nothing wrong with debates. I'm in support of debates, but the point is debates was thrown out numerous times to the opposition now when they was in power, and they never take up the mantle. Janelle throughout debates. Mr. Grant used to challenge Mr. Douglas for debates over and over. They never accepted any.
But although it would have been good if we have debates, we really need it, especially in light of the fact that we can't have the usual platform appearances and that sort of thing. Okay, we really need to have debates, because a lot of things that, for instance, the Prime Minister said in his speech can be challenged.
I just call you to endorse the unity government once more again going into a general election, and I want the people of this federation in this country to acknowledge what went on in the last 5 years, absorb what went on in the last 5 years, and do not vote for a party.
Yeah, I want to commend the Prime Minister for ringing that bell. Since this COVID virus starts, man, I've been listening to him, a lot of his speeches, and a very mature Prime Minister, man.
They have been complaining for years, several years, that the overseas voters always come in and give them a government they don't want, and then they leave. So go out. Now that you have a choice, go out and vote for the government that you want. I don't care which side you pick, but I'm just saying Now you have a choice. You can't blame it on the overseas voters when this voting is done.
But some aspects were questionable, like the decision on when to close the borders. I'm sure if we had to do it over again, he would do something different.
I personally, and this is my strongly belief, that nobody who lives in New York, Florida, England, Russia, Germany should come home and vote. And the reason why I say that is because you can't come and vote for who you want in a general election, and when you're done, you turn back and you're going back to the country where you live.
We as a nation, we've done tremendously well. We now have no positive tested coronavirus cases. My concern and my worry is that in a desperate need to be re-elected or elected, our political parties reintroduce coronavirus by bringing in overseas voters. And I want the public to realize that where the overseas voters will be coming from, full of a virus.
Those are the things that you would vote if you have land, if you have house, if you have something there to tie you to the country.
Elections are scheduled for June 5th, with nomination day being May 27th.
This is Eyewitness News.
The decision by government to halt sales on Arawak despite safety measures undertaken by stall owners not sitting well with stakeholders who say that since the March 23rd closure by the Prime Minister, they, like many others, remain challenged to make ends meet. Matthew Moxie has more in this report tonight.
Our staff are calling us every day, wants to know when would we open.
Arawak Conch Fish, Vegetable and Food Vendors Association President Rodney Russell expressing hurt as he says the government has yet to allow them to reopen their restaurants even after implementing safety protocols. Russell says vendors are more than willing to work with the government to adapt to the new normal, as he says many of their employees are hurting and in need of an income.
When we drive around and see other establishments that belong to Bahamians are open, we wonder why can't we do the same thing? So some of our business places in Arawak has shifted the way they do business in Arawak by creating takeaway.
Now, with being just steps away from their businesses, Arawak vendors are puzzled as to why they cannot operate with curbside service. Here at Driptus at the Fry, you can also see that they've already started overturning their benches and chairs to discourage social gatherings. And if you take a look into their main dining hall, you can see that they've already done the same. And according to the co-owner and operator Ricardo Williams, they're doing even more to facilitate healthy sales.
We've now designed signage for customers where we're going to post the signage so customers could clearly see the protocols, the services we're offering, the rules and the regulations. I mean, obviously, one of the issues would be that we have to manage the customer's behavior. And I think that begins with, like I said, us. And we want to take responsibility for that.
Russell contends that the move to close down Arawak has had a domino effect on fishermen, farmers, and other small businessmen who rely on Arawak restaurants for sales. However, businessman Dwight Umbrister says it appears as though the government has little faith in their ability to safely conduct sales.
And we have already begun to put the markers, get the signage, get all our sanitizing in place, everything. And we're prepared to go above and beyond to make sure that we don't be the fall guys.
Vendors now say they believe they are being victimized.
I will really appreciate if the government will adhere to this particular conference that we have and do something for us as quick as possible.
Matthew Moxie, Eyewitness News.
This is Al Jazeera.
So then China is planning to push through national security laws on Hong Kong following months of mass protests against the central government. This comes as China's biggest political gathering of the year kicks off in Beijing. The draft legislation will almost certainly be rubber-stamped by the National People's Congress. Its spokesman says the new law serves the fundamental interests of both China and Hong Kong. Activists fear it could be used to limit the political freedoms in Hong Kong.
Hong Kong is an inseparable part of the People's Republic of China.
The MPC is the highest organ of state power. In light of new circumstances and need, the NPC is exercising the power enshrined in the Constitution to establish and improve at the state level a legal framework and enforcement mechanism for safeguarding national security in Hong Kong, and uphold and improve the institutional framework of one country, two systems, which is highly necessary.
Well, let's explore this further. Adrian Brown is standing by for us in Hong Kong. But first, let's go to Katrina Yu, who's in Beijing. Katrina, tell us more about this and why it's happening now.
Well, we just heard just then from Zhang Yicui, who is the spokesperson for the National People's Congress. That's China's biggest political gathering of the year, and we're just on the eve of that. That's taking place or opening on Friday. And they're going to discuss various items to set the tone and direction for the future of China. 9 different items were listed for discussion over the next few days, and one of those items was the discussion of this national security law for Hong Kong. Now, it says it's to be discussed, but many of these items are already pre-approved policies, so it's highly likely that this will be passed into legislation. So from what we understand it, the NPC is using a sort of legal backdoor to make a change to Hong Kong's basic law, which is Hong Kong's mini constitution. And this allows it to bypass the usual legislative processes in Hong Kong to make this move. And in a sense, what China is doing, it's taking matters into its own hands. We've seen protests happening for almost a year now, sometimes violent protests, and these protests have been a huge thorn in Beijing's side. They've undermined the credibility of Beijing. They've been hugely embarrassing, and this is really its solution for ending those protests once and for all. And this really is the biggest direct attack on Hong Kong's autonomy, possibly since the handover of the British colony in 1997. And what this really means is Hong Kong is one step closer to looking and feeling more like just another Chinese province. And of course, Beijing can expect more backlash from the international community for enacting this quite dramatic move.
Right, Katrina, I think I'm right in saying that Beijing has always had the power to enact this national security law into basic law, but it's refrained from doing so far.
That's right. Well, according to the basic law in Hong Kong, that legal power should be in the hands of Hong Kong's lawmakers. And this isn't the first time that this security law has been discussed in Hong Kong. In 2003, a national security law was also discussed, and hundreds of thousands of people took to the streets in Hong Kong, and it was never really discussed in a serious way again. Now, because of this protest, Beijing really wants to end what it sees as chaos and instability, and it's really using this power and what it sees as sort of really extreme circumstances. They don't want these protests to go on any further. And as they see it, there's simply too much opposition in Hong Kong's Legislative Council from pro-democracy lawmakers to enable this national security law to happen internally anytime soon. And so because of that, they're taking this rather drastic step and making this move during its National People's Congress.
Katrina, thanks very much indeed. That's Katrina Yu in Beijing. Let's go to Adrian Brown now, who's in Hong Kong. And Adrian, of course, Beijing will well know, you would imagine, that by doing this, they could inspire the very protests they're aiming to stop.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Nick. It's hard to see those major protests flaring up again because, of course, social distancing rules are still being rigorously enforced here in Hong Kong by the police. And, of course, for that reason, this announcement from Beijing may not be a coincidence. After all, the timing is very interesting indeed, to say the least. We've been getting some reaction from pro-democracy figures here in Hong Kong, including Dennis Kwok. He says the news from Beijing has left him speechless. He says he believes that the Hong Kong government and the Chinese government are actually using the COVID-19 outbreak as cover to further clamp down on Hong Kong. Now, this bill, Nick, is in direct response, as Katrina said, to 11 months of unrest here in Hong Kong, but also some important context. The mood here in Hong Kong really began to change earlier this year in January, when Beijing appointed a new head of their Central Liaison Office and also a new head of the Hong Kong and Macau Affair Office. Those are the two Beijing bodies that handle China's affairs here in Hong Kong. And since then, We've had the roundup of some 15 veteran pro-democracy politicians. We've had the police commissioner warning that Hong Kong is facing a serious terrorism threat, in his words. And now, of course, we have, Mike Pompeo, the US Secretary of State, this week warning that perhaps Hong Kong's special trading status with the United States may not be able to continue if he feels that Hong Kong's autonomy continues to be threatened. And also this week, Nick, Chris Patten, the former governor of Hong Kong, has also been speaking out, saying that it's quite clear that Beijing is continuing to interfere in Hong Kong affairs and violating things like the Basic Law. These are powerful words coming from influential figures. So, I think there is going to be a price to pay for what Beijing is doing, but it's difficult to anticipate what that will be just yet.
Indeed. All right, Adrian, leave it there for the moment. Thanks very much. Adrian Brown there in Hong Kong.
That was the Win FM headline news, brought to you by KDP Enterprises, Caribbean Alliance, Carib Brewery, CNC Trading, The Grange.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world. Whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous, you can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air. We get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises, telephone number 466-9595.
Without limits, happy and free. The skin you're in with no apology. The one to seize the day. Grab an LLB. Live, love, be. With LLB. Live, love, be. Live, love, be. Be who you know you can be. Grab an LLB. Live, love, be. Angostura, lemon, lime and bitters. Live, love, be.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020, fax 466-8221, or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com, or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Dealing well with a low reputation and service for second to none. Securing you is our mission. People that you can trust, your business, property, we got you covered. Motor or personal, whatever it is, we got you covered. 130 years in this business, we got you covered. For all your insurance needs, visit or call us at 465-2631 or 469-5303. Delia Walwyn, people you can trust.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
When we
When is the last time that you've had lunch or dinner away from home? The ambience of Sweet Cane on Port Zante provides you with that touch. Sweet Cane daily specials include burgers, wraps, soup, and tasty seafood dishes. Sweet Cane also caters for events and special parties. Call our Sweet Cane hotline at 465-4345 or 665-7628. Sweet Cane, they've got the touch.
This is your local weather forecast brought to you by Sweet Cane. Local weather forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis, valid up to 8 a.m. tomorrow, Friday, 22nd May. Synopsis: high pressure is the dominant weather feature and generally settled weather, accompanied by gentle to moderate breeze, will prevail the forecast period. Today's weather, partly sunny with a 40% or a moderate chance of showers. Tonight's weather, partly cloudy with a 20% or a slight chance of early morning showers. Winds are east-southeast, ranging from 15 to 28 kilometers or 8 to 15 knots. Seas not exceeding 1.5 meters or 5 feet. Today's sunset, 6:38 p.m. and tomorrow's sunrise, 5:37 a.m. This has been your local weather forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis, valid up to 8 a.m. tomorrow. Brought to you by Sweet Cane.
When is the last time that you've had lunch or dinner away from home? The ambience of Sweet Cane on Port Zante provides you with that touch. Sweet Cane daily specials include burgers, wraps, soup, and tasty seafood dishes. Sweet Cane also caters for events and special parties. Call our Sweet Cane hotline at 465-4345 or 665-7628. Sweet Cane, they've got the touch.
The South 98.9. FM.
Welcome back to the second hour of Voices here on Win FM 98.9. During this segment of the program, we'll be having a discussion. Well, the Ken Richards will be having a discussion with Mr. Sam Condor during the second half of the program. But in the meanwhile, as they get set, we'll acknowledge our sponsors and then we'll come right back with Voices.
Why not stay in? Turn off the alarm clock and sleep some more on your perfect mattress from Quartz. For the widest range of mattresses from the world's best brands, the best value guaranteed. Shop today and let our sleep experts help you to decide on the best option to suit your needs. At Quartz, we don't just sell mattresses, we're offering you the best night's sleep. So, sleep in a little on your new mattress from Quartz. Quartz, bringing value home.
Flo's new combo plan, the people's plan. Combo plan. You can call anyone, no matter which network you they on. Just use your Flo.
I want a combo, but not for my belly. I feel my cell phone, so me call anybody. Call Mr. Man, call Granny. On the island, Flo, come, boom.
Yes, there is no need for to force no more. Cause it Flo combo plan, you're paying less for more.
Flo got a new combo plan. You can call anyone, no matter which network you they on. Just use your Flo.
Dial star 129 number sign to activate your combo plan today.
Welcome back. Like I said before we took the break, we're expecting to have a conversation with Sam Condor, a conversation between Ken Richards and Sam Condor on the big announcement this morning by Mr. Condor that, one, he has resigned from being the ambassador of St. Kitts and Nevis to the United Nations. But as we continue the program, we'll take a call. Caller, good afternoon. I guess we lost that caller. Yes, I guess we lost that caller. But like I said, we were expecting to have Mr. Condor here shortly to give his perspective again in more detail in terms of his resignation. Oh, and as I said, he's here. Well, we'll just give him a moment as he prepares to join the conversation. But we'll take one call quickly, and we go to the phone lines. Caller, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Mr. Abel, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And good afternoon to all the listeners. And to the Excellency Sam Condor, my very good friend. You call from Montserrat.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll get into the local politics of it, of who and who and who and who and who. I may say, we joined the program when Mr. Mahan said that Team Unity actually do nothing to bring unity to the country. I kind of disagree with him on that point there. As an establishment. But what I may say, what goes around come right back around. Probably you know me around.
Okay, caller. Sorry, I have to cut you, but all right. Sorry, I had to cut that caller, but we're going straight to join. We're going to join Sam Condor and Ken Richards as they begin their discussions over his statements this morning that he resigned. Go ahead.
Okay, good. I got it now.
Well, yes. So we'll trade over to them.
Okay, thank you very much, Jermaine, and welcome to our listeners, our Win FM listeners. Mr. Condor, former ambassador, Citizen Condor as he calls himself now, is with us. Of course, you may be aware that he had a press conference this morning where he indicated that he has resigned as ambassador, as St. Kitts and Nevis ambassador for the United Nations. He's also said that he is throwing his support behind the opposition St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, of which he was once an integral part. So we have Mr. Condor, and he's going to talk to us again. But before we get into the discussion, let's play some of the presentation that he made this morning. As soon as we can get it, we'll play it for you. But Mr. Condor, thank you for being with us again. And
thanks for the invitation, Ken.
Yeah,
Appreciate
you're
it.
welcome.
Mm-hmm.
And how much of a veil was lifted from you this morning in terms of speaking your mind and telling people where you're at and how you feel at the moment?
Well, I think for a long time people were asking, there are people who knew, it wasn't a secret that I wasn't very happy with what was happening, and I had some concerns. And in fact, the question you asked, why not sooner, why wait till now? And I thought really it would have been a little bit unfair to the government to create that kind of distraction and the kind of division that an earlier resignation might have caused. So I decided that I will allow them to get their, serve the term and to do it all those words. So I just didn't want to cause any distraction. I think that would have been a little bit unfair to them.
And what kind of reaction are you expecting to Now, was it quite a bombshell? Not quite a bombshell. I think people were expecting it. But what kind of reaction are you expecting to the fact that you have announced you're no longer an ambassador and you're no longer with Team Unity and you're now back with the Labour Party?
Well, I think you will have mixed feelings all around. In fact, even some people in the Labour Party would have a problem because they would say that some people say you betrayed them, you left, and they need an apology. I really don't owe anybody any apology, you know. What I do, like I said, once I believe I am doing it for the right reasons and selfish motives. I try to do what is right and what is wrong. I have a keen sense of justice, you know. That's how I was brought up. That's how I grew up, and I just want to do what I think is fair, what is right. So I don't have no personal thing. So neither with the Labour Party, neither with those who think that, you know, where you're going, nobody wants you, you cook your thing. I mean, I don't have them. Fortunately for me, Ken, I don't live so, and I don't carry those kind of burdens, you know. I just live free, live happy with everybody, peaceful. Who like what I say, they'll be happy. Who don't like it, unhappy. But I have no qualms with them. I mean, you know, some of those people who were rejoicing 5 years ago, you know, thought that, you know, Sam is my friend because he did what I wanted to do in the personal interest. It was never about the country for some of them. It was, you know, this is a chance for Pam to get in power. This is a chance to get rid of Douglas and so on. Me and Douglas saying had no personal problem. Me and Douglas had philosophical and ideological problems about what I think was right, what is wrong, and so on. And I'm prepared to stand up for those things. I grew up in a Massey's house, right, on the Bradshaw, when, you know, you could say anything you want against Bradshaw, for Bradshaw, as long as you were defending what you think is right. Even if he ain't agree with you, he defend your right to say what you want to say. I see that happen several times on the union conference floor, on the Labour Party floor, Bradshaw, when people there saying, well, you can't say that because Bradshaw say, hold a minute. Let the common say what he wants. This is what he believes, and so on. You have to respect that. You have to be respectful and so on. That's how I live. That's how I grow up. And so a lot of people might have a lot of problems, but I don't have those problems. And I don't have to carry them. Fortunate for me, I don't have to bother with things that, you know.
So you're saying democracy was alive and well at that time under Bradshaw? Yeah,
absolutely. Bradshaw was the supreme Democrat as far as I'm concerned, you know. I mean, you know, Bradshaw, people had a lot of things to say about him, and, you know, he was a dictator. You think nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing could be further from the truth, you know.
How would you rate the democratic process today in St. Kitts and Nevis? Still alive and well?
Well, there are challenges, like I say, democracy is a kind of fragile plant. You have to cultivate it, tend it, and
water it.
Water it. Otherwise you will get into real trouble, and you have to consistently be doing that. I mean, all over the world, in the United States, the bastion of democracy, like I say, in India, the largest democracy in the world, in wherever.
It's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress always. Mm-hmm. And if you don't keep your eyes on it, if you don't keep focus, if you don't, you know, be a guardian of that, you could lose it. And the last state will be worse than the first. You cannot afford that. And you have to have people who stand up and do that, you know. So I don't mind. I don't mind.
So you're still very much politically tuned in. Some might have expected, now that you're no longer an ambassador, time to retire, you've had a full life kind of thing, but you're still in the thrust and throw. Why?
No, because, like I say, Ken, when I see where I am and where I reach, and I know that could not have been possible without people helping to make that possible. People sacrifice to make that possible. So how we could go home to sleep when, as far as there's nothing wrong with me, I am healthy physically. I mean, I take my walks every day. In fact, somebody said nothing, my good friend Sanjo, continue to take your walks and go home and rest by the pool. I mean, I really don't need advice from anybody. Not that I'm arrogant or conceited and so on, you know, but, you know, I mean, I want to, I'm not looking anything, I don't want anything, I just want to do it for my country, for generations yet unborn, you know. I believe I have that responsibility. And you see, nobody could swim me and so. I know people believe that, you know, I don't have a mind of my own, you know. It's always like the question you ask, somebody always doing it for me. They make a mistake all the
Underrating you?
life. Underrating me. But I love that because once they underrate you, you have a better chance of succeeding.
Right.
And that's what has happened to me all in my life. In my football days, in my playing days, in my school days, and wherever. People underrate you, and when they underrate you, then they take their eyes off of you and boop.
At the press conference this morning, we asked you a lot of questions. One of them fell by the wayside because we were asking you so many different questions. The relationship between you and Dr. Harris at the moment, how would you describe it?
No, it is not a contentious acrimony relationship, but it's not as good as I thought it would be. I mean, I'm a little surprised and disappointed, right? I mean, all the things I went through to promote Dr. Harris. Because, believe it or not, you were warned all the time. In fact, one of the things Douglas told me on several occasions, he said, look, Sam, me and you have a difference of opinion, right? I believe this could be resolved. I understand what you're saying. I don't agree with you and so on. This could be resolved. Harris has a different agenda that cannot be resolved. Don't allow yourself to be the thing. I thought Douglas was just defending his turf and trying to protect himself. Because I think he had basically lost his way and so on. And he got something, that's something that power does to you, eh? I don't know if it's something that eat or drink. I don't know if it's something in government headquarters, but I never imbibe that kind of thing. So power, I just see an opportunity to serve and not to, impose.
So you think Denzel Douglas was right in his assessment?
Well, it turns out to be right. It turns out to be right, but I never. I think, Tim just, I don't know. The Prime Minister, sorry, I think he had an opportunity. I was just there for him, like Douglas. I was there for Douglas all the way, and then Douglas became kind of insecure and suspicious. I think people put things in his mind, but he's a sensible man. He's a bright man, so you can't let people do that. You must know what is in your interest and what's good for you. So, and people always feel, I don't know why they feel so. Cause if they feel that I don't have a mind of my own and I mean so smart and so, why they feel threatened? So Douglas became kind of, he let people think that by Sam after something, and and then Timothy, I don't know why it was Timothy problem. I mean, all I did, resigning, support and so on. I remember.
But you all were very close. Around 2013.
Yeah,
and so
close.
Yeah,
very close.
When he was let go by Dr. Denzel Douglas, you resigned in support.
Resigned in support.
What happened to all that?
Well, that's what I'm saying. In fact, I could take you to the resignation thing because when the Prime Minister, Dr. Douglas, fired him, right? I think it was about the 28th or thereabout, sometime like that. And when I heard of the thing, I said, boy, what are we going to do? I went by a friend of mine. I don't have his permission to call his name, so I'm not going to say anything about his name. I said, but, what is this, man? What do you think I should do? I think that's wrong, What do you think I should resign in support of him? He said, no, don't resign, Sam. Don't do that. What you will do, I think you should write to Dr. Douglas and tell him you disagree with this and give you reasons why you shouldn't resign. Put him on the spot and so on. So I said, okay, all right, I'll consider that. We started drafting a letter and so on. Then 2 days later, about the 28th, we had this meeting because it was around the place like fire. Some people were jumping for joy, some people were. So, we had 2 days of that kind of confusion. Then we went over for a meeting by Timothy night, and we sitting down. People like Dwyer Astafan was there, Len Harris, Tim, director, all these folks and so on. A lot of people, I don't want to call some of them names because some of them might feel they're private and I don't want to. But these are public figures who have been around and so. But we had Dr. Thelma Philip Brown, now ambassador in the U.S., Quash, Clecton and so on. We were all there and so on. We're saying, look, what's going to happen now and so on. And we said, boy, we did talk. I said, well, I had a discussion and the view that I should sort of, write to Douglas asking. And Dwyer said, boy, Sam, I don't agree with that. What's that? What are you going to do? Then Timothy says, the Prime Minister says, the only thing could work now, the only thing would help is for you to resign, Sam. If you don't resign, you might as well pack up shop and go home. Douglas on his way to another victory. Thelma Philip Brown turned to him and she said, well, you can't ask Sam to resign like that. Sam is a family man. Sam here in a meeting. You don't know his circumstances and condition. Resignation has all kind of implications. I turned to Thelma and said, Thelma, I understand what you're saying and appreciate that. But I said, look, we in this together. This is why we're here, and we can't be here halfway. We in this together.
Do you regret having resigned?
No.
In hindsight?
No, never. No.
It was for the cause, it was for a good cause.
It's for and a good cause. I don't think we would have been, at this stage now, we're discussing these things, if I had stayed there. More of that would have happened. That would have continued. I think, people were, and not only Douglas, I think, because I've always had an excellent relationship with Douglas, a much better relationship than I had with Timothy and so on. Because me and Douglas, remember, I don't know if you know, but we were there in 1989 together. So we were chummy and buddy and so on. We were good partners and so on. In fact, I remember we were so close. I remember when the days and so on, I used to share. I had a beautiful pocket handkerchief Jean bought for me, because I always used to dress like that. In pocket
Jean is your wife, of course.
Yeah. And me thing. And I said, boy, Dougie, you're going on radio and so on. I want you to look good and so. I take my best pocket handkerchief and I gave him. I said, wear that. I used to have a lot of lapel pins and so. Before we had the flag and the thing I used to go. I said, man, put in that in your lap. And we just share things. Douglas had some red for his formal shirts. He had some red buttons. He lent me them when I wear me formal shirt and me think I want to buy them. So that's the relationship we had. So we were buddy.
Real partners.
We were partners and so on. But I don't know. People get thinking that. And he started doing things that I think were not in the best interest of democracy and so on. And, I think he had to be stopped.
Okay, we'll pick up that conversation. We do have, I think, now the opening statement that you made at the press conference. It's still not ready, apparently. Let's go on. We'll bring it on.
So I say that the kind of relationship is there. But like I say, afterwards, when I thought he was going kind of straying off thing, I thought you had to step. Supported by other people, And then, Timothy. Me and Timothy got close. Like I said, not in the same way like me and Dwyer are friends, or me and Douglas were friends. Well, were friends, I could say, or our friends, whatever you want to say. But me and Tim had a good relationship. I respected his brilliance. He was a young guy with aspiration and so on. And I supported him all the time and so on. And even though we had several occasions where I think in the party people were suspicious about, his aspirations and his ambition and so on. I remember a conversation distinctly between Tim and between the former Prime Minister Douglas and my wife Jean, because Tim always wanted to become the Deputy Prime Minister and the deputy leader of the party and so on. And, I was, say it's a democracy, you do what I want. And I remember a conversation between Jean and Douglas. And Douglas was saying, you don't know Tim, Tim wanted to be the deputy leader and he wanted to be the deputy prime minister. And
he had ambition. What's wrong with that?
No, that was Jean's point. Jean said, I am surprised that he only wanted to be the deputy. He's supposed to want to be the prime minister.
Yes, let's digress a little, because for a little while there, for a few years, you were ambassador. What would you describe as the highlight of that ambassadorship that you carried out on behalf of St. Kitts and Nevis at the United Nations? What were some of the highlights?
One of the highlights for me, right, was when we went to India, SIDS, the small island developing states. Went to Ireland, and there was this conference and so on, and I don't know what reason. For one reason, they selected me to make a presentation to respond to the president of Ireland and so on and so on. ambassadors all over the world. And I just, started putting some stuff and so to get up and so on, and spoke at the meeting and so on. And after that, people thought that it was, really brilliant and so on. And a couple of days later, I was in New York, went back to New York and so on, and a guy came up to me, and he said, how are you doing? You know me? I said, I don't remember. He said, yeah, man, I was in the meeting in Thailand and so on, and that was a brilliant presentation, speaking on behalf of developing third world countries and so on. You guys and so on. So that was one of the proudest moments, and there were several others, but but that was speaking on behalf of SIDS at a conference in thing. That was a proud moment for me.
So as a diplomat, what kind of contribution you'd say you made to the Federation, to St. Kitts and Nevis?
Well, it is really understanding the geopolitics and so on, and to be able to promote your country, to get people to understand, the needs of your country where you are. I mean, the UN is the premier multilateral organization. There's where everything happens. 193 countries, all the world, people come in, the heads of state and so on. So it is at the UN that all these things happen. And when you're at the UN, you are a voice, among the, when you stand up to speak, it's the world listening to you among nations, and you have as much authority and so on. So the UN provides that kind of support for poor people who ain't gonna no weapons and no money and so on. That provides the multilateral system. People. It keeps the
and you were on the global stage.
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's join Trent now to see. Trent, do you have the presentation of Mr. Condor?
May we never forget that our ancestors sacrificed much to bring us to this juncture in our history, and we owe them a debt of gratitude. For the record, I name of the first triumvirate that I had the honor to interact and serve with: Robert, Bradshaw, Southwell, and France. And the second triumvirate, Moore and Payne. As I reflect on the years of triumph, disappointments, challenges, and progress of our nation, I take pride in the knowledge that I've been fortunate to play a little part in our nation's development. We have accomplished much in the past in areas of social and economic infrastructure, health, education, social security, etc. As a nation, we have also had several opportunities in the past to usher in true democracy, stability, harmony, and prosperity. But alas, we have come up short. We are yet to consecrate these ideas with good governance systems that will give assurance, hope, and guidance for the future of the next generation, thereby not condemning them to repeat the missteps of the past. Another such defining moment approaches. One must say looms ahead, amid some of which should have long been behind us. These include electoral reform, electoral and constitutional reform, unifying our fractured nation, good governance, sustainability, and resilience, and our very survival in a hostile world. Fellow citizens, our ability to rise to the challenge is about to be tested once again. Shall we triumph, or will we flounder and perish like so many other once great nations? Today, I challenge each and every citizen to examine his or her conscience and summon the innate strength and courage necessary to make the right and wise decision in the upcoming watershed elections. This is pivotal to our future, as we are at the crossroads and must make wise choices on leadership, policy directions, and the kind of country we want to live in post-COVID-19 and beyond. It is my considered view that this period offers us a fresh start, a new beginning, to right the wrongs, to atone, to renew time-honored principles, and to keep faith with our ancestors who sacrificed and struggled, whose sacrifices and struggles we have somehow betrayed. I myself have been engaged in serious soul searching over the past several months, undergoing painstaking introspection and retrospection. The COVID-19 lockdown has afforded me the time to pause, to reflect, and to renew my sense of duty and purpose. This introspection confirmed for me that my task is yet unfinished. Last election cycle, I advocated for a change that would revert our focus to the values and ideas that have been part of me since my childhood. I was passionate and resolute in my advocacy for a better St. Kitts and Nevis. My decision to break with the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party was not made lightly, as its stellar leaders over the years have been my mentors. But I believed then, and still do, that I must be true to my ideals and principles. I must be consistent. That was why I co-founded the People's Labour Party and pledged to work hard to instill in it the values and principles of a true People's Labour Party. Unfortunately, the PLP has deviated from its founding principles, and I can no longer influence its direction. This issue is so dear to my heart that I have determined that I must remain ever resolute and consistent. And so, I stand here today before the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis and my Almighty God, disappointed, very disappointed that my dream of a better St. Kitts has not been realized by once idealistic colleagues who in 5 short years have forgotten why the unity construct and its agenda appeal to so many of our people. Regrettably, they have failed to implement the good governance agenda that was our mantra of 2015. These good governance measures were deemed urgent and necessary to strengthen our democracy and to end the vicious cycle of recrimination, hostility, and tribalism among our people. Unfortunately, we have not seen the focus necessary to address this level of divisiveness in our society. And if anything, our society is more divided now than it has ever been. I therefore intend to challenge any status quo that does not accord to the principles of fairness and justice. This I've done all my life, for I deem it essential, indispensable to our continued progress and development as a society and people. In the ensuing weeks, I will seek to address in more detail the episodes and observations that inform my decisions. More importantly, I will share my views for the way forward for our nation, our beloved St. Kitts and Nevis. I feel compelled to fight for the realization and aspirations as a people, of all our people. I see it as my duty to do what I can to assist in strengthening the institutions upon which our country was built. I have had much time to reflect on my affiliations, past and present, and I have concluded that it is more prudent to be part of a movement, the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, that has shown contrition for its missteps and is prepared to censure itself. Honesty, humility, and selfless service have always been my watchwords, and I will never, never compromise them for anything or anyone. That is why I'm at peace with all my decisions, past and present. And more importantly, I'm at peace with my God. I ask that every citizen do a similar sober soul-searching, introspection, and retrospection. I urge all to approach the upcoming poll with an open mind and seriously scrutinize every candidate and every party. I implore you to make wise decisions for the future of the next generation and the country as a whole. I wish to thank one and all for your sharing in this event. I'm grateful also for the opportunity afforded me to be of service to my beloved country. And now, in my capacity as Citizen Condor, I pray God's covering and protection on all my fellow citizens. God bless our beloved St. Kitts and Nevis. God bless us all. I thank you.
That's, of course, former St. Kitts and Nevis Ambassador to the United Nations, Sam Condor. As you listen back to what you said earlier this morning in terms of your presentation, did you feel you got the message that you wanted the nation to hear? You got that message across? To what extent?
To a large extent, I am satisfied that I wanted to say to the nation that, 5 years ago, I came to you and I told you that things were not going right, we wanted to change, set out an agenda, and I believe, Ken, to a large extent, people bought into that. People were convinced, and so, I feel that I have a responsibility to say to them that that isn't what we were talking about. I mean, people share that with you all the time. That isn't what we were talking about. And so, should we just decide, well, all right, that's, it didn't work out, so what we do? And I believe I have a bigger responsibility because, like I said, I want to be part of something bigger than me.
When did your resignation take effect?
Yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah, I had some difficulty. Like I say, one of the last thing I wanted, people were saying when you're going to leave and when you're going to leave. I believe that would have been a distraction and a disruption. I didn't want to embarrass the government. I didn't want to shame them. I didn't want any controversy to get them off the agenda, what they're doing. I believe that would not have been a good thing for them, and I didn't want to do that to them. And so I was leaving it. And so I thought the election was going to be later. So, because I see them were talking about August and so on, and for a time I thought, well, you're going to be somewhere maybe the end of June, July, and so on. So I had applied for some vacation leave and so on, and then my resignation would take effect after my leave. But then after I hear date, I didn't expect that. So I had to withdraw and put forward a thing. I had to call the PS and the minister, tell them, look, sorry, but this is an urgent thing. I want to resign with immediate effect. So I did that yesterday. And so because I didn't want to speak as when I'm still an employee of the government. And so I wanted to cut. So it happened kind of, but like I said, it was always the intention of, giving the government the opportunity. No distraction. That would have been a major talking point, a major distraction. And
it might still be.
No, but well, in a different way. The government can say, I got in the way of governing because we are in a new elections coming, so they had an opportunity to do it without having.
Well, let me hold you a little accountable. You've been a politician a lot more than you've been an ambassador.
Yeah.
And you're still not giving up. You are still in the political fray to some extent. Politicians are accountable.
Yeah.
So we're going to give the listeners an opportunity to put a question or two to you if they so desire. While we're waiting for questions, just want to make the point that you're emphasizing how disappointed you were with team unity in terms of focusing on bread and butter issues. That's a lot more important than good governance.
Yeah.
We build a cruise ship, a second cruise ship. We're building roads. We're building bus terminals. We're building houses. We're doing so many things to benefit the people. You want to hold us accountable to what you're describing as good governance. What is that? How do you respond? Just before you respond, I think we have a call. Hello, go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Richards.
Hi,
good afternoon, Mr. Condor. How are you guys doing?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Condor, this is Clive Webster speaking.
How are you, sir?
Well, I'm not doing too good, but I'm alive, so I'm giving thanks.
Yeah, give thanks, man. Yeah, that's a good thing to do.
I have a question for you, sir. What advice would you have for someone like myself who would have taken a similar stance toward Dr. Denzel Douglas and the Labour administration during the time when we were in the trenches fighting for a better St. Kitts? And I'm asking this question, sir, from the backdrop that, like yourself and many others, who played pivotal roles in positioning the present administration, that I find myself and my family in a very precarious and sad, unfortunate situation. Up to this morning, I went to the Treasury to look for my salary. Since February of this year, I submitted an invoice, and to date, I still cannot be paid.
Invoice or salary?
Everybody.
I don't understand. Is that invoice or salary? Those are two different things.
It's an invoice.
Invoice, okay.
So since February up to today, presently, Clive Webster cannot get his money. And I'm a family man. And where is the representation from the political arm of my party that helped to form the tripartite system of government we have today? PAM. Where is PAM in all this construct? So what advice do you have for someone like me?
Well, Mr.
I would listen after.
Yeah. The advice I have to give you is you're working is for the Ministry of Agriculture, right? Yeah. Well, I assume it's the Ministry of Agriculture. So what he has to do is to go through the office of the Ministry of Agriculture, the permanent secretary, that is the accounting officer, that's the person responsible for things, and find out where the invoice is, and so on, and make sure that he make sure that he's aware of it, and so on, and process it.
The process is done
and he will go to the Treasury, and he will then go. They will inform me when he collects at the Treasury. So this is a matter not for the government. When I say not for the government, not for the political directorate. Political directorate can give you the money, pay you no checks, and so it has to be done from the accounting officer in the ministry, which is the permanent secretary. So Mr. Webster, you need to go to the permanent secretary, Mr. Al Edwards, find out what is the problem, let him know, and see if you could get your monies going to the Treasury card. This way you will get your checks. So that's the advice I could give to you. Okay. And if you want to contact me, my number is 662-2910. I could see if I could assist you in expediting the matter. It's an administrative matter.
Okay, great. Now let's get back to... Oh, we have another call, so let's take that as well. Hello, go ahead, please.
Yes, sorry, it's me again. Yes, Mr. Carter, I have done all of that. This is not anything new. Since last year, January, February, March, the same permanent secretary held my salary. Every month thereafter, for the whole of last year, I've been having this problem. Sean Richards is aware of it. Dr. Harris is aware of it. Eugene Hamilton is aware of it. This is a vendetta. So there is nothing that Al Edwards can do now. It is above Al Edwards. He has done enough damage to me as it is. The question I was putting forward to you, sir, is what advice you have for someone like me who stood up to a power that all of us thought was not working in the best interest of the people and not providing young people like myself and others with the sort of opportunities to help us as the young generation to advance our country. So what is taking place right now is real victimization. That's what it is. So what advice would you have for someone like me who stood up against wrong and said, hey, look, I might be small, but I am significant. I might have a small voice, but you're going to treat me with the respect and dignity as a born citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Okay.
This is what I'm talking about.
Okay, thank you, caller. The problem is we don't have all the facts in terms of the situation. There may be a lot more to it
Mr.
than you're
Officer,
saying.
What I like to do, I like to, for us to meet. I give you my number, give me a call. I would like to meet to do two things for you. One is to see if I could assist to facilitate and expedite your monies that are due to you. It's not wages because you're not working for the government. The invoice you did something, provide some service or something that you did, and so I believe I could help you in getting that. The other part about what you should do, I don't think I could give you any advice about that. You have to decide what you do in response to a situation where you thought you were supporting a certain decision in a certain way, and it has not worked out. You're smart enough. You're old enough. You're clever enough to know what you do in that situation. So,
are you saying he can take your example?
Well, I wouldn't want to give anybody my example. Everybody must take their own.
Okay, we have another caller. Hello.
Mr. Richards, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hey, my partner. I long to hear. Well, I hear your voice all the time, but I don't get to talk to you. But now I hear talking to you. I love you, man.
No problem, and Mr. Condor, me say that you don't even give me a chance. Let me give you excellency accolade. you jump ahead.
Go right ahead.
How you do?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I listen to you all the time.
Yes. You say me try to be fair, right?
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, me not pick no side.
Yeah.
But no, I want to ask you one little question, and then let me give somebody else one chance. Give me your opinion of calling one election now a state of emergency. We want your opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. You did address that already, so go right ahead again.
That is not right. I think that's a little bit unfair. And that's what we're talking about, the good governance agenda, right? This morning was saying elections is a critical part of preserving your democracy. Election must be free and fair. I mean, last election we had all kinds of things happening. I think we have to move away from those things. Election, well, the whole process, the whole democratic process depends on free and fair election. And the whole election with a state of emergency is an unfair advantage to the government.
But what about the argument from the government side and health officials and so on, saying, look, we have this virus that infects people. Some people even die, although, praise God, nobody has died here yet. And you want to make sure you keep the social distancing.
Yeah,
you want to make sure all
the
regulations are in place.
You could do that without any.
But don't you need regulations to put those things in order?
The health regulations, the Public Health Act could deal with those things. You don't need that, Mr. Richards, to do that. That is unfair. That is not right. That is the.
So you think there's an ulterior motive?
It is an ulterior motive. The government is trying to get an advantage. It is not right. It is not fair. And anybody who can't see that, I mean, I don't understand. It is not right. It's not fair. We don't need a state emergency to we could make sure, get the police. The police could enforce the thing under the Health Act. You could do that. If you have a pandemic and you are an epidemic, even if you're in a pandemic or epidemic, and you have a problem in terms of the thing, and you have force people to wear the mask and you social distance and you're washing your hands and so. I mean.
How much of a possibility could there be in terms of lifting the state of emergency before the elections?
Well,
is that something that is doable?
Well, I'm not a legal man. I don't know, but as I understand it, that is why the opposition was saying in the House, and even if they had gotten what they wanted to do, it still would have been useful because they were arguing that you should not have an election, you should not have a state emergency beyond the point where the next election will be held, because they were thinking that the election was going to be held down in August, but it's in June now. So even if that said the state emergency would have been to August, they would have still here at a disadvantage with the election.
But how do you control large crowds coming together? in a rally situation, in a situation where you're holding public meetings and so on. That is one of the things. That is one of the things people are trying to. The authorities are trying to avoid. The more people who come together, the more difficult it is for you to control.
Okay. And then I hear again, Mr. Edwards, Mr. Richards. What I'm saying is that way I think Team Unity lost 2 opportunities. One in 2015 when we had an opportunity to unite the country. The goodwill and the support was there to do it. We failed to do it. And we had another opportunity with COVID. COVID presented an excellent opportunity to bring the country together, bring the opposition around the table, sit down there, and you could have worked out all those stuff. We're not going to have any public meetings with the election. We're not going to have an agreement. I mean, the opposition would have been unwise, foolish to object to anything like that. Bring them around the table. But
I agree, but politicians are politicians. In Antigua, the government called in the opposition, and they had discussions, and they had some agreements in some areas. A few weeks later, they were right back at them, crucifying one another. So it's not an easy thing. But I agree with you, the government here could have made an effort. An effort. Because it's the parliamentary opposition.
Exactly.
They have people who voted for them.
Exactly.
They represent people. So they're an integral part of the nation. Yeah, but it's not an easy. Do we have another call, Trent?
They're gone. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to address my friend in Montserrat, because he was making that point, and I think it's an excellent point. He was saying that another program that he thought that the Team Unity would have come into one party. He said he thought the first. I know that wasn't going to happen, but there are people who felt that the Team Unity movement should have been moved into some sort of collaboration and so on. But what we have seen is that the parties are further apart. What you have is a facade of a unity. There is no unity in that stuff. PLP and PAM and CCM. There's no. I mean, I understand what he's saying. But even if you didn't come to, because that was never going to happen. PAM was not going to give up the autonomy as a 50-year-old party thing. CCM was going to give up as a 30-year-old party and so on. And PLP is really what is PLP? PLP is going to disappear after the next election. I don't see no long term.
That is your prediction.
Yeah, I don't see any.
They might surprise you.
They might surprise me, but I don't see any long term future for PLP. It is not. We're going to all the foundation members of the PLP are out of the PLP. I mean, we are the people who are going to build into a successful. We are the people who are going to build that into a successful political organization. Where they be, who they are.
But you may have set the foundation for them.
No. But you want people with the experience and the know-how and so on to build that. I can't build that's not going anywhere. Not going anywhere.
Okay.
But I wanted. Yeah, I think that's it. That's the point I wanted to make about the Montserrat thing. Because that is a very interesting point. That he thought the parties will be coming together and so on. That is not going to happen. And so. Really, what's happening? They're trying to pretend that kind of fake unity.
Well, it's not impossible, because in the St. Vincent and the Grenadines situation, you had Ralph Gonsalves with his Unity Party, you had the Labour Party, and they almost look like one. Or people don't call them a coalition or anything, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, but those were parties with different history, a different history and a different outlook and a different philosophy, and so on. Totally different. I mean, PAM philosophically is different to Labour. I mean, even though, now you don't understand what it is, what the Prime Minister, whether he was, what it is. I mean, he has disassociated himself from all the policies and programs that he was part of for 18 years, so you don't know where he's standing and things. But the Labour Party, PAM is not a Labour Party. CCM is not a Labour Party. A Labour Party has a distinct and.
But they didn't come together as a Labour Party. They came as separate parties.
Exactly. And I think
with a common goal.
Exactly, and I think that is how they are going to stay. But they try and they must say that they're trying to fake that there's this collision, this unity, and so on. Nothing is further from the truth.
We have another caller. Hello.
Mr. Richards, me back.
Yes, make your point, please.
Yes, the point that me make, Honorable Sam Condor, you hit the nail on the head. Well, really and truly, me don't want to back up the unity, but this are the part. If you still go hold on the PAM, and you go hold on the PLP, well, because of Mavis now on got an island, well, that they one little tricky one. But do team unity now got one constitution?
No, because it is not a party. It is a coming together of several parties.
Exactly, and that's a problem. No, me no. I will not this here. Me not really want to say nothing. Look, me not really want to get in this. But if me can say things to this but me not want to get in this. But the point amendment now, the supporters here, and the supporters now are going to be the problem, and not really even who they, because what happen now, some supporters are going to get threatened. If PLP now start to gather and start to bring up and start to come up, there's going to be one problem. So really and truly, let the unity abide. I mean, I really want to get into that. So let the unity abide. But really and truly, that's one problem, right? You see, when you merge, you can't look back. And the Bible says, who would have put it to the plow and look back, then a problem. So you can't be in unity and still look back on PAM and PLP and this. That alone is one problem. Okay, then.
All right. Thank you very much for your contribution. Mr. Condor, we're running out of time. We might be able to take one or two more calls if people call in. But we still haven't had your response in terms of good governance agenda versus bread and butter issues and developing.
No, when you're talking about bread and butter issues, look, if we had gone on a bread and butter issue last election, Team Unity would have been in trouble. I mean, the Labour Party, the country was built by the Labour Party, you know. The Labour Party in terms of projects and programs and so on is unmatched. So it wasn't. I didn't have any problem with programs and so on, you know. I had a problem with what was being done. With the good governance, with where people operated.
So they should have been done side by side, you're saying?
Absolutely. And there's no reason why they shouldn't be done side by side.
We have a caller. Hi, hello.
Hello.
Yes, go right ahead, please.
Greetings, Mr. Condor.
Greetings to you, sir.
Greetings to the host.
Thank you.
Mr. Condor.
Yes.
We live in a federation where we know our people and we know how our people think. And we must always strive to have a democracy that we can say that we putting out liberation for our people. I listen to you very closely, Mr. Condor. And this good governance word always something that is seemingly manufactured in the mind of many of us. But I cannot see a man of your knowledge, a man of your standard, would stand here today and say within the past 5 years, we haven't seen no good governance example that is exhibit in the Federation. With the governance that comprise of 3 different parties and knowing who the members of those parties are, you're trying to tell me that over the past 5 years, there haven't been no good governance agenda in this country? You want to tell me that the governance that was there before is the same continuation is happening to us today as a people, Mr. Condor?
Yeah. So you tell me then. I'm ready to listen and to hear what you think. You tell me what you think has happened and how it has happened and why you should be impressed with what has happened. You tell me. I'm listening.
Mr. Condor, if you, as an individual, cannot see it for yourself, I can't tell you.
Okay.
Because why you say it like that?
Okay. That's how
You said the country was going down a dark road. So you want to say the country is still going down a dark road? That's what you want to tell the public?
A dark road.
Those are the words you had said some years back.
Yes, I said that.
So you want to tell me government is continuous?
Yep.
And you want to tell me the government, the administration that is now governing the country, continue carrying the country down a dark road?
Yep.
That's what you're telling the country?
Yep.
So we continue being in the IMF hands?
What are you talking about?
No, I'm just making we continue being that.
The IMF has nothing. That is not governance, mate.
But that's a part of governance. Paying back a debt is a part of governance, Mr. Condor. You should know that.
Look. Let me tell you something.
I'm not talking the truth. We're paying whatever you owe.
Hi, caller.
Why didn't you pay that debt? That's a part of governance.
Hi, caller. Let me see if I can jump in there a little bit. There are specific actions that Team Unity in its 2015 manifesto promised it would take care of. Things like Freedom of Information Act, integrity in public life, and a few other similar measures. I think those are the ones that Mr. Condor is focusing on. And
so
to a large extent as well,
life.
do I ask Stefan? What's that?
So there's no integrity in public life exhibiting in the Federation?
Well, there is legislation that was passed, but it basically has not been fully implemented, and that is one of the things that is being commented on. In terms of the Freedom of Information Act, the government has said in response to when people say it's not effected, that you have to put the proper mechanisms in place. So when people go in search of information, there is a procedure that is followed. That hasn't been completed. I think it's those kinds of things that Mr. Condor is referring to.
I could understand you with that. So you want to tell me also, with the steps that I'm not here like in non-defense. I'm just talking as a citizen.
Exactly.
So you want to tell me the step the other day when they tried to bring a bill, a law, to say the Prime Minister should govern for 2 terms. That's not a helpful step to good governance.
Well, that was one of the measures, yes, but it failed, as you know.
But it failed because the opposition, that is something the opposition should have supported, and I'm like Sam Condor, push stress on that.
Hold on a minute a bit. You want to hear me say this 2 terms?
No, I want what you stress on that? What's your take on the bill that...
Okay, well, just let him explain his view, caller.
Really, that is not a significant part of any good governance agenda. Whether a prime minister is going to have 2 terms or 50 terms, it has nothing to do with that, the length of the term. It has to do with what you do, your accountability, your transparency, absence of corruption and nepotism and so on. How long you govern has nothing to do with good governance. So 2 terms,
accountability.
Because you could be in 2 terms, you could be there for 2 terms and cause more havoc than somebody who is there for 50 years.
I agree.
7 terms. So that has nothing to do. Has nothing at all to do with good governance.
So you want to tell me there is no control, there is no management concerning our fiscal, financial policies?
I don't understand what you mean. I don't understand what you mean.
Mr. Condor, you continue to be good.
Thank you very much, sir.
And I pray and hope. You see, Washington Archibald name would all be called in this country, because you know why? He was very consistent. And many of us are very inconsistent. Nobody born poor, nobody born rich. All of us born naked. But it's the way how we put policies in place.
Exactly.
Is to help people.
Absolutely.
Get opportunities.
Absolutely. You're right on. You're spot on there. Absolutely. You're spot on there. We agree with that 100%. Spot on.
Okay, caller, thank you very much, because we're running out of time. So thank you very much. And all the other callers who called in, thank you very much for your contribution. Mr. Condor, as I said, we're running out of time. If you could just make a few closing remarks, please.
Yeah. Well, kind of want to thank you for the opportunity. In fact, you got the first opportunity after my initial thing, and I want to thank you for that. I just want to say that basically that what I'm doing is really what I believe is my responsibility and obligation to my country. I believe that sincerely, and what I'm doing is in all honesty. God be my judge. I have no personal agenda. I have no animosity, no grudge, no nothing. I'm basically through all those things. But I believe I have a responsibility and obligation to see how I could add to the political discourse and to make my country a better country for generations yet unborn. That is my only mission, and my passion for that is undiminished. I will do that until the day I die.
And of course, we wish you good luck, Mr. Condor.
Thank you.
Very much for being on the program. We have to say thank you also to Jermaine Abel, who did the first part of Voices today. And of course, we just had the second part of it. We'll have another Voices program tomorrow. And we hope at some other time in the near future, you'll grace us with your presence again.
I'm available anytime.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay.